What is up, everyone? Thanks so much for stopping in for another video today. Today we're going to be looking at this scope here, the Vortex Diamondback 4-12 Tactical. We are a new channel here, so if you would drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, it would really help us out. So with that, let's go ahead and get going. For logistics work, I paid $250 for this scope you see here about 2.5 years ago, and it's still, you can still find it for that same price. It is a 1-inch tube scope, and the overall length is 14 inches that I measured. I measured the weight of 14.6 ounces. Those are a little different than listed on Vortex website, but here you go. I'll roll in this image here, and it's got a ton more details about all kinds of links, dimensions, eye relief, adjustments, etc. So if you're more interested in some of that stuff, go ahead and pause the video, and then that way I don't have to bore you with reading numbers for a minute. So this is a second focal plane scope. If you're not sure what that means, there's more than enough information on the internet to find out. But we'll start off with quality. So obviously this comes with Vortex renowned warranty. If you have any issues, they're going to take care of you. It is made out of aircraft grade aluminum. It's the standard waterproof, fog-proof, shock-proof. It's argon filled to help keep out any fog. And it seems of really good quality, especially for the price. I haven't had any sort of durability issues, but it is a pretty simple scope, so that's probably part of that. This scope here has only lived on AR platform rifles, this one and 2 others. And between all of them, there's probably over, maybe not, like right around 1,000-ish rounds. And I've never had any issues losing 0 or shifting 0 from firing on any of those rifles. So that's worth noting. It kind of speaks of some quality. We'll go ahead and talk about the magnification ring. It is nice. The numbers are printed on the back of this crown, so they're really easy to see when you're behind the rifle. But the ring itself is super stiff. And like I said, I've had this one for quite a while, used it quite a bit, and it still hasn't broken in much. It is still really, really stiff. So now we'll go ahead and talk about the turrets. All right, so these turrets, they are MOA turrets. Each click is a 1/4 minute adjustment. They're super easy to 0 reset. I really like that. So if I wanted to move over to the 1 here and re-0, you just pull this tab up, slide over to 0, and drop it back down, and now you're reset. Now you'll notice that some of the reset subtensions don't line up perfectly. I find that that's fairly common on these budget optics, at least a few that I've had my hands on. In fact, this one actually does a much better job than some of the other ones, like a cheaper primary arms I have, where a lot of the subtensions actually don't line up. This one does a pretty good job, and most of them line up. There is no 0 stop. That's not super surprising for the price. You can see you've got a revolution counter under there, so that's handy. And we could talk a little bit now about the clicks. They're super sharp, audible. They are a little mushy, but I mean, for the price, again, not bad at all. Again, better than all the other scopes I've tried in this price range. All right, now that we've got that sort of covered, we'll go ahead and zoom back out and show you some box tests that I shot with this scope. So this first one here was shot right when I got the scope about 2 years ago on a different rifle than the one you're seeing it sit on today. But it was a 3-inch by 3-inch box test, pretty self-explanatory. You'll see the first group here, up 3 inches, a little bit of over adjustment, up or right 3, a little bit of over adjustment, back down 3, still a little bit over adjustment, and back, and we're about 1 inch off 0. It's not horrible given this price range. I mean, obviously we'd want to see a little better, but you know, it's kind of what you get, especially for paying this price point. So we'll go ahead and roll in another one here. These 2 that I'm going to show are a little more recent. So here's this first one. This was the first 2 here that are circled, and then we shot these 2 here, but I was in a hurry and ended up holding here even after making the adjustment. So I just scooted these all over 4 inches because we were doing a 4x4 test. So you can see where these would have impacted. Obviously not the best data, but it is what we have to work with. So I mean, they're within 1 inch of the target. Down here within 1 inch. This was pretty bad. and then the return to 0 was okay. Keep in mind that this was shot with the Arrow precision rifle you're seeing the scope sitting on in the other parts of this video, and that rifle with the ammo this was shooting shoots about 1.1 to 1.2 MOA, so some of this variance is definitely coming from that, but you can see that the turrets aren't perfect. We'll go ahead and roll in one more. This results were a lot better. This was also recently with the Arrow rifle. We've got first shot here, second shot really good, third shot within an inch, fourth shot really good, and then fifth shot return to 0 was about 1.5 inches high. So on all of these turrets, there's about at least a 25 to 30% error on each correction. Not a huge deal. You know, if you're shooting like I do with this gun, plinking at long range, it's fine because I don't always need a first shot hit. If I dial something, it's a little off, we can kind of correct and bring it back on target. But if you were to use this scope for like a competition or something where first round hits are crucial sometimes, this is not going to be the scope for you. The turret subtensions just aren't accurate enough. That being said, I've also taken this scope out to 700 yards on this Arrow rifle and was able to get dialed in, shot really great groups with the rifle at 700 yards. Those are shown in the overview for this build if you want to check that out on the channel. But when I went back to do this testing later, the 0 was about 2.5 inches high. So when I redialed everything back to 0, 0 had shifted. So that's again more evidence that these turrets aren't perfect. They're more than good enough to get the job done and have fun, like plinking, long range shooting on a budget, but they're not super precise. And I think it's worth mentioning again, these results may be more definitive with a more accurate rifle. And all these targets were shot at 100 yards. That's just the rifle range I have access to. It would have been nice to get down to 50 where the groups will be smaller and you can really highlight any error from the scope alone and try to isolate it. But that's all I'm going to say about the turrets. I think they're good for the price. They get the job done for me, but just be aware that they are not super precise. Okay, now we've got the rifle back in front of us here. We can talk a little bit about lens quality. Here I'll roll in a picture on an outdoor day when we were doing some shooting. The image is crisp and bright. There's no fuzziness around the edges. And like I said, I've shot this one out to 700 yards with this scope. No issues identifying targets. Things do start to get a little blurry at that range, but again, this is only a $250 scope. The image is really sharp. It's better than a lot of the other budget ones that I've looked through. Maybe the only thing else in the price range, at least that I've looked through, that could rival it might be something like some of the Nikon stuff that has really, really good glass. The image is not as sharp as something like Vortex's Razor, but it's no slouch either. And as far as the reticle goes, there is a little bit of discoloration in the black of the reticle. If you look, I mean, that's not a big deal, but again, that kind of speaks to a little bit of the quality. This is a more budget-minded scope. All right, with that being said, we can go ahead and talk about the reticle. The reticle within the image is super crisp, no issues there. This is Vortex's VMR1 reticle inside. One thing I do want to hit on that Vortex really gets right here is it's an MOA, the reticle has MOA subtensions, so they match the turret subtensions and corrections. For whatever reason, a lot of the other budget-minded scopes, kind of under 300 bucks, they will tend to have MOA turrets and a mil-dot reticle. You can still use that, it's still useful, but it's a lot easier to have your turrets and reticle match up. You know, that you'll find that on all the higher end scopes, but for whatever reason, a lot of the cheaper ones tend to be that way, especially like a Primary Arms I have, for example. It's a cheaper scope, a 4-16 from them, and it has MOA turrets with a mil-dot reticle. So hats off to Vortex there for finally getting that right, even in the budget arena. With that, we're just kind of moving to closing remarks on this thing. I think it's a great scope for the price, but you've got to keep that for the price statement in mind. It is budget minded. If you're going to be shooting super far, I wouldn't really probably use it past like 800-ish because things just get a little blurry, but the image is great. Light transmission is surprisingly good, even for a 1-inch tube. And the weight is awesome at 14 ounces measured on my scale. I mean, this thing is super light. That's one of the things that attracted me to it at first, was for like an AR SPR build. You want to keep the weight down. If you do, then this scope is perfect for you. But yeah, the turrets, keep those in mind. You can use them. I've used them successfully out to range. Do it quite frequently with this rifle here. but just know that they're not that precise. And when you dial everything, after you get on target and shooting all day and you get back and you want to dial it down, your 0 back to your 100 yards, 0, 200, whatever, just know that you're probably going to be off and you're going to spend a few rounds getting that back squared away. But that's not a super huge complaint to me. I know that if I want turrets of that level of precision, I'm going to have to pay more than $250. It is lacking some of the higher end features, no parallax adjustment, no illumination or anything like that, but it's kind of just a no frills scope that works. That's how Vortex can get the quality up with keeping the price down, is they don't bother with other frills like illumination or a 30mm tube. They take everything just being bare bones as they can and just maximize how well each of those few components works. But that will sum up kind of my opinions and experience with this scope here. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'd love to chat with you about it. Again, if you enjoyed the video, found it useful, please drop a like. It really helps us out. Considering subscribing if you enjoy the channel's content. And other than that, thanks for watching.